This year actually, like I remember discussing this, but like this year we didn't have any announcements or release of any Kirby game, which is something really really rare. Like I think the last time this happened was like in 2009, which is like 15 years ago.
Hmm. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Kirby Conversations. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a writer and podcaster, and I am here today with Wick Kirby, editor-in-chief and prolific Kirby translator, Gigi. Hi, Gigi. Welcome back.
Hi, hi.
And it's just us today. Unfortunately, Kai and Bridget are out sick, so we hope they feel better soon. But in their absence, we are holding down the fort. And today we are talking about our predictions for what Kirby has to come in 2025. Now, I know there's a lot of wild speculation about what the Switch successor will entail and what's going to come. We know it's going to be a really big year for Nintendo. Gigi and I were just talking about how some years are kind of quieter years for Nintendo, other years are major milestone years, and next year is going to be a big milestone year. A year from now, we're going to know so much that we did not know before. There are going to be so many announcements next year. So we're going to kind of balance off the wild speculation part with things we know for sure. I think that might ultimately be more useful for listeners. But we'll still do some fun speculation toward the end of this episode. So our roadmap for this one, we're going to start with things that we can be pretty certain of that are coming in 2025, if not sooner. These are things that might be Kirby related or Kirby adjacent, Smash Brothers things, Monster Hero Sakurai things, anything that we think Kirby fans might be kind of interested in. These are the things that we know for sure are coming. Then we'll do a section on things that seem likely or things that we are maybe anticipating but don't really know for sure yet. And then we'll end the episode with more rampant speculation, things that we might imagine could hypothetically be possible, but don't really have evidence of. That sound good to you, Gigi?
Yeah, that works for me.
So, starting with things that we know for sure, we each have our own lists of what we want to talk about, and Gigi knows the things on my list already. But the first thing on my list is that we know that the Nintendo 64 Super Smash Brothers is coming to Nintendo Switch Online, maybe before this year is out, but almost certainly next year. This is a game that Nintendo has said is coming to NSO, and it's not there yet. So we know it's in the pipeline. Do you like the Nintendo 64 Smash Brothers, Gigi? Do you have much of a background with that?
I actually haven't played that one that much. I know I played a bit, and I was always like My main was always Kirby because it's good in that game and it's Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be nice to have it in the Switch to like for me to dive more deeper into it because I don't recall when I played it, but it has been like years ago and probably some friends in a friend's house or something. But yeah, I haven't really played that one that much, but what I did play was fun, and I think it's good to revisit the first Smash Brothers game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played the original when it first came out years and years ago. I was in fourth grade, I think, at the time. And I still come back to it from time to time, and I think it holds up really well for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are a lot fewer characters, and it's very different from modern Smash Brothers,
Yeah.
but it's still pretty fun for what it is. So that's one I think I will definitely play with other people if it's available on Switch Online, and I think
Oh,
that could
true.
actually be a really neat way to make it more accessible to people.
Yeah, that's true. Having online play is a big plus too.
I know it still has a competitive community as well. A while
Mhm.
back, I was watching a combo tournament that people did that is actually really cool because they like allow them to use items and like set up this whole sort of like almost obstacle course of things on the stage to try to get their combo as like flashy and get the number as high as possible. So it definitely still has its like hardcore base as well. So it'll be interesting to see what that does to the competitive Smash Brothers scene, like too. If suddenly you can play Super Smash Brothers online, rather than having to come up with some kind of elaborate emulation process or like the other things that people do to play it competitively. Definitely will change the Smash Brothers scene a little bit, and it's just something we know for sure is on the horizon.
Yeah, I wasn't when you said that I wasn't thinking about the competitive scene, but you have a point. Like it's going to be more accessible for people, or even remind people like that the game exists and they can like play it after a while and get into it, and then even play competitively because yeah, that's the one thing that I like about the NSO games because I know there are people who pick them up for the first time, and there are also people who play the game after like forever, and they remember that they like the game and replay it a lot and get invested. It's really fun. So yeah, that's certainly one I'm looking forward to.
Mhm. Yeah, this is a bit of a tangent, but are there any games on NSO that you discovered for the first time that you now like really like and are really glad it made it in?
Uh, Honestly, probably like there for Kirby. I'm trying to remember which one I hadn't played before. I think it was Dream Course that always wanted to play but didn't. And there is a game I don't remember the name now, which is for GBA. That's like a puzzle game. I'm trying to remember the name, but like I played with a friend once. They were just like trying to find games that were online, and a puzzle game was online. I don't remember exactly how we played, but I just remember like playing it. It was really fun.
Is it the helicopter one?
Yeah, yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Yes,
like Kururin or something. I should
yes,
look up what this is actually called. Yeah, I was playing that too for a while, and I got pretty into it.
yeah. That's fun. And I know like Mario Luigi Superstar Saga was also a game that I always wanted to play, and when it got into the NSO, I just was happy because sometimes there are games that want to play, but like if they're not really available or easy to play, like get the game, I just don't go after it. And if they're just like in something I'm subscribed to, I just sometimes even try like, hey, let's see. I have this game now, so let's see if I like it. Or so it's convenient to have this. So that's something I like.
Mhm. All right, it looks like from 2001, Kururin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember playing it and then like walking around my apartment. I was like super conscious of like where everything was like located, and I felt like I had to
Yeah,
like remind myself that I wasn't a helicopter anymore, and like I could just actually walk around things.
that's funny.
For me, I was like sort of an unexpected surprise for me was Mario Golf on the Nintendo 64,
Oh
which is a
yeah.
game that I had played but don't own. And that has been fun to play with friends and works really well online. And it's just more fun than I thought it would be. So definitely something like I really would not be playing very much of if it hadn't come. And now is something that I feel like I know pretty well. So hopefully bringing Nintendo 64 Smash Brothers will have that same kind of effect. There's obviously
Hmm.
large swaths of people who didn't grow up with the game anymore, younger players for whom it's going to seem maybe very old and very ancient, but it's still fun and it has its own kind of hectic, kind of janky
Yeah.
energy to it, um, that that really makes it still stand out and is worth going back to, even with the modern Smash Brothers out there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, do you want to share another thing that we can be like pretty certain about?
So this one is kind of like it's easy, but like I'm pretty sure we're going to see an announcement of a new Kirby game. Like
Mhm.
this year actually, like I remember discussing this, but like this year we didn't have any announcements or release of any Kirby game, which is something really really rare. Like I think the last time this happened was like in 2009, which is like 15 years ago.
Hmm.
Because even in some years where we didn't get Kirby games, like in 2021, we had the announcement of Forgotten Land, for example. And I think the other year we didn't have a Kirby game, which was 2013. We had the announcement of Triple Deluxe. So this year, not having anything Kirby is like, there's no way there's like this next year has to be something Kirby like for a game because that's so unusual.
Mhm.
And recently Kirby has gotten like games released very constantly, like it's maybe one per year, sometimes less, sometimes more, but like it's pretty consistent. And I think it's a given that it's time for a new Kirby game. I just don't know exactly what it will be because there's arguments for mainline, spin-off, or something else. I don't know what they could have, but like I think in general a Kirby game for next year is like at least announcement. I don't know about release. That depends on the game, I guess. But like I feel announcement next year is like there's no way we're going to end 2025 without any games announced.
Mhm.
Like there's if that happens, I'm going to be really worried. Be like, how are you doing? Like what's going on? Is everything good?
Yeah, especially given how successful Kirby has been over the past couple of
Yes.
years. They even specifically highlighted the Kirby series in their recent financial reports to be like,
Mm-hmm.
look how much growth the series has had. So it's
Yeah.
like they know it's doing well.
Yes.
And then to just have no announcements about it for 2 years would be very weird. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess we can't say for sure, but like we can say with as much confidence as we can say a lot of things that
Yeah.
Kirby news is coming.
Yeah.
Do you think it will be 3D like Forgotten Land, or is the next Kirby game going to be back to 2D?
So, uh, actually, for this one, I have like a weird theory, which honestly is just a theory. Like, I don't have any evidence for it. It's just like my. I don't know if my ideal situation, but I feel like they could do it. I think like the next major Kirby game is going to be 3D, mostly because Forgotten Land was really a success, and like I don't see they just ignoring that and going, okay, we're just going to do 2D again. But they did say they wanted to keep making 2D games, and even Return to the Land Deluxe was like their way of having a 2D game for the 30th anniversary. Which okay, it's a remake, but like they wanted a 2D game also, so they're conscious of that people like 2D Kirby still. So I can imagine like a time where 3D Kirby like releases and then 2D Kirby doesn't happen again, like right after or around the time. So I couldn't, like personally, I couldn't say like I'm for sure. I for sure think the next one's going to be 3D because I think we could have a situation where it's 3D and there's a 3D game and a 2D game. Maybe like I know Mario, for example, has both, and there's generally by different like teams, I think, and they are considered like different things. So I think that can happen and will happen with Kirby. Like I just personally don't know how soon that will happen, but so guess like the most logical scenario has 3D Kirby, but I always have that like that feeling that maybe it's going to be 2D too, or maybe they do 2D first and then 3D. I don't know, like if that makes sense. It's
Mhm.
weird because we've never had anything like this before. Like we never had a situation where we knew 2D and 3D Kirby existed and we're trying to figure out okay, so what's next? So I think anything can happen.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. We've never been in this situation before.
Hmm.
And it is like Mario now, where it's like you've got your 2D Marios, you've got your 3D Marios. They live in harmony together. And we know that they have said they want to keep making 2D Kirby. So yeah, I would also say that like even if we don't know exactly what like the next Kirby game is going to be, we can be pretty certain they're working on a follow up to Forgotten Land that is
Hmm.
3D. Just, I mean, it was just such a massive hit and it
Yeah.
sold so well. The idea that they would do that and then go, okay, well, let's not make another 3D one, it just seems very odd. So I personally like the fact that we've got both going on. I think 3D is more likely. Like if they announce a big flagship Switch to Kirby game,
Hmm.
I think they're going to want to do 3D, maybe just to kind of show the new generation or whatever.
Yeah.
But we might get like another 2D remake, um, or who knows. But there's definitely new Kirby game announcements on the horizon.
Hmm.
Another thing that we can be like almost positive about is that we will learn more about whatever Masahiro Sakurai is doing next.
Oh
It just
yeah.
seems very unlikely to me that he would just disappear and never be heard from for a year without any kind of update from him.
Yeah, I agree because he I don't remember how recently, but he ended his like channel. And I know in his last video, because I watched it, he mentioned like, "Oh, I have this project I've been working on like for a couple months now." So I doubt it's something that we won't hear like really soon, because like it's Sakurai. It's something
Mhm.
they wouldn't. He wouldn't be in a project that's just going to take forever to make. It's going to probably. It's just. I wonder if it's another Smash Bros. Or if it's a new game, or. But yeah, I feel we are going to hear about it. Like, there's no way.
Mhm. We know he's been hanging out with a lot of the Namco people.
Oh yeah.
There's that picture going around of him in the sunglasses hanging out with Harada and I forget who all off the top of my head was in that picture, but like other Namco people. So
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean they're working together on something, but
Yeah.
when they're all in the same spot like that, one wonders.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it feels like something he wouldn't have brought up if it was like not something that was going to happen. And even if it's not like the game comes out next year or something, like we'll at least get some kind of update about it.
Hmm. Yeah. He mentioned it's like it was funny because he just mentioned, "Oh, I got in this project," and he mentioned it so casually. I found it was funny. Like it makes sense because he needed to explain, like, "Oh, I was working on this channel, and then this happened," and yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah. I guess otherwise he's just driving his cars around going to hot springs or the things he has described as being his hobbies.
Yeah.
And he's still fairly young as far as game developers go. So,
Yeah, and he likes to work, so like
mhm,
he's going to work for a while, even if he gets old.
mhm. Yeah, so we know something's probably coming from him. Um, Probably a new Kirby game on the horizon. Smash Brothers is coming to NSO.
I just want to say that I think it's like almost a given that we're going to get new music from Kirby in the Nintendo Music app.
Hmm.
Like we got Dreamland and Starlight on release, and ever since the app has gotten like I think it's weekly updates. Like every week there's a new game, and I think Kirby like I don't know how like if Nintendo knows, but I always hear good things about Kirby music, even from people who are not Kirby fans. So I hope Nintendo knows that people like Kirby music. So I think a Kirby game getting added is like very likely. I just don't know how soon because there's a couple of games they like South to confirm. I think it was in the trailer that hadn't haven't been added to the app yet, but none of them are Kirby games. So maybe Kirby isn't like in the near future, but I can like imagine going through the next year and no new Kirby game getting added.
Hmm.
And I think if I have two like guesses of what we are going to get next for Kirby, one is Forgotten Land because you know it's Forgotten Land, and yeah, and the other I think this one is more generic, but I think maybe another game. I don't know which one because they also have been adding like some NES games and stuff like that. So maybe they're going to get like Superstar or something, but
That would be
I don't
cool.
know. Yeah, it would be nice. I just have no idea of like what's the next game if it's not for Land. But if it's not for Land, I would expect something from like the classic era of Kirby, like before, like up to Kirby 64 or something. So maybe Superstar, or even like I don't know, they could do something crazy and go like Pinball Land for some reason. I don't know, but
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah, at some point, right? Like you have the entire year to get no more Kirby music added would
Yeah.
be kind of odd, right? It'd be like, oh, are we just like not doing this series for some reason?
Yeah.
So hopefully there's more of that coming. But it seems
Hmm.
like really not in the realm of speculation, something that's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have any other things in your list that like are not really in the realm of speculation and are really like hard things we're like pretty positive about?
Just in general, we're going to get more Kirby merch, but like in
True.
Japan. But like that's a given. Also, we get like every day there's something. So and
There are
yeah,
few
they're good
certainties in
stuff.
life, right? The
Hmm.
few certainties are death, taxes, and more Kirby merchandise.
Yeah, for sure. Because yeah,
Yeah.
there's other like Kirby releases that are game related, but mostly Japan, like the novels. There are a couple Kirby manga going on, but like they're just in Japanese, so it's like okay, they're going to happen, but most people listening to this probably would be like, okay, I can read that, so yeah, whatever. But
Yeah,
like that
there's
also
Kirby
given,
cafes. Yeah, the Kirby
yeah,
cafes are going to be open in the winter, we know, in like Tokyo and Osaka and stuff. But
hmm, yeah, that stuff happens every year, but like
Mhm.
Japan, so yeah, we like the games and stuff, so
Yeah, it's easier to talk about the games on this podcast. And I feel
yeah,
like making predictions about things that are just sort of always a constant, I don't know if that's as useful to listeners, but still good to kind of
yeah,
remind people, maybe depending on how familiar you are with Kirby stuff, that
hmm,
yeah, there's these pop-up things going on all the time in Japan. Lots of
yeah,
merchandise out there that doesn't come to the US. Um, and we can look forward to that as well. We just might not have as much access to it.
yes.
All right, so let's move to the next rung of the ladder. We got the things we're pretty positive about out of the way. Now things that are like likely, but that we don't necessarily have hard evidence for. Do you have any things that you want to mention that are like probably going to happen, but you don't really know for sure?
I do have like it's about Kirby games, but like this one
Mhm.
specifically. It's something I feel I always talk about, but like it hasn't happened yet. But like the next big Kirby spin-off because okay, we got stuff like Super Kirby Clash, Fighters 2, we got Dream Buffet. They're like all like smaller spin-offs. They're all like eShop exclusive and they are smaller games. Like even if they're fun, I'm not saying they aren't fun, but like the big spin-offs I say is stuff like Rainbow Curse or Epic Yarn or even Battle Royale. Battle Royale was like a like it's a full price game, but it's Battle Royale. But like I mean stuff like that because I keep finding it weird that the Switch only had like smaller spin-offs. Like okay, we got Fighters 2, but like it's a smaller game. Most people who get it are like Kirby fans. It's
Mhm.
not something as big as like I said, Rainbow Curse or Epic Yarn. So I think it is still likely that we are going to get a Kirby spin-off for the Switch one. I mean, not for the successor because it has been a while. Like Rainbow Curse was 9 years ago, and
So you
I
think
don't.
there's another Kirby game still coming for the Switch
Yes,
before the Switch 2? Oh, interesting. Okay.
yes. Also because if you go back, like and see Kirby games releasing, there's always a Kirby game releasing like right after, like right at the end of a console's life.
Mhm.
Even if it's something weird like Astra Epic Yarn, which by the way released like after Star Allies, which is really weird, but like it released in the 3DS after Star Allies. Well, why not? So I have no clue what it is, like what it would be. I just think it would be a spin-off, and if not, maybe it could be like I said about 2D Kirby. It could be like a 2D Kirby game, which is different from like everything else we had before. So it could be something like Epic Yarn, which is a spin-off, but it's a platform, like, or it could be like a 2D Kirby, which is, I guess, like creating a new kind of 2D Kirby. Because I feel like if we get a new mainline 2D Kirby, it's probably going to be something really unique and different. I don't imagine them going like, "Oh, we are going to do a game like Starlight 2." Like, I don't see them doing that. Starlight was like did everything it could, and then just doing it again feels odd. So maybe they could do something different, and I have no clue how. Like, so that's my that's the gut feeling I have, and I have said like something about a big Kirby spin-off for a while now. So I'm still like, I hope I'm right because I like Kirby spin-offs too, and I think they are really creative sometimes. And it would be neat to have something like to close the Switch. While, for example, they could do for the Switch 2, Forgotten Land 2, which is like a bigger game, like mainline. They do something more crazy, but it's still fun, like for the Switch one. That's
Mhm.
like, again, I don't know how likely that is, but I feel it's pretty possible considering how in like previous consoles we always have that one Kirby game that releases like really at the end of the console lifespan.
Yeah, Kirby is kind of a closer for a lot of systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't gotten that like closer Kirby title for the Switch yet.
Yeah.
And yet it's usually not a huge Kirby release. Sometimes it is, but they've usually got some Kirby game in the pipeline that they can still put out there.
Yeah. Like I feel if they're going to do like a 3D Kirby, that's definitely Switch 2.
Mhm.
Actually, I think there is a small possibility they could do like still for the Switch one because I think HAL sometimes just does it because why not? But I also imagine like if Nintendo has some like input in what HAL is doing, they're probably going to tell HAL like, hey, so if you're going to do Forgotten Land 2, then release for the Switch 2 because they want to sell Switch 2s and Forgotten Land sold like a lot. So that makes more sense like in a marketing perspective, like to sell more Switch shoes. But so yeah, in that perspective, I also think it's unlikely, but I don't think it's impossible. Like thinking out loud, just really not likely at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we got Kirby's Adventure well after the Super Nintendo had come
Yeah.
out and stuff. So we could always get something down the road that's like available on both consoles. Nintendo obviously does that sometimes too.
Yeah, the Switch 2 is backwards compatible. I think they confirmed that, if I remember correctly. Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
so maybe they could just release in the Switch one and go like, okay, but you can still play in the Switch 2. But yeah, like I feel we're still getting a Kirby game for the Switch one. Probably a spin-off or maybe mainline 2D, which is more experimental or different. And but maybe not. Who knows?
Mhm. Yeah, now that Nintendo doesn't divide between its console games and its handheld games, we don't really have that niche for the handheld Kirby games anymore,
Yeah.
where something could be a really full game, but still a smaller or maybe more experimental thing than what you'd get on a console. We
Hmm.
get these like eShop only games that are smaller than like a full release and not even quite like a handheld sized game. So that's sort of like it seems like there's a slot for like a medium sized Kirby game along with
Yes.
whatever the big Switch 2, maybe Forgotten Land successor or whatever is.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then another thing that I would predict is going to happen, but that we don't necessarily have like evidence for, is that there's still a lot of Kirby games that haven't come to NSO yet.
Oh yeah.
So I would not be surprised to see like Kirby's Pinball Land come to Game Boy or Kirby's Block Ball show up in that app or something. Any of these like smaller titles that I can understand why they weren't the priority to really get those out there, but would be very easy to add to just keep populating that library with new things. I would enjoy having those titles out there. I've never played Kirby's Block Ball, so like that would be kind of cool to check
Oh,
out.
oh, Block Ball is really fun. I really like it, but I haven't played it like forever. So if that gets added, I'm definitely going to go back to it and just have a blast. It's a really fun spin-off, personally.
And they really didn't waste time adding the other Kirby games. Those
Hmm.
all seem to have gotten added pretty quickly. So yeah, very reasonable to think that those would come. Maybe we'd get Nightmare in Dreamland. for the Game Boy Advance
Yes.
app or something. There's Kirby games out there they could still add very easily, I would think, without a lot of like, they're not going to be caught up in like licensing issues or anything like that. If we can get GoldenEye, you could get Kirby's Pinball Land,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. And Nightmare in Dreamland would be fun too because that game has multiplayer, and I haven't really ever played multiplayer in that game. And the GBA games are like they have multiplayer, but I heard very few people talking about them. So like, it would be nice to have people play them like probably for the first time multiplayer, even if they played the game like single player before. So I hope we get at it.
Would that be with the mini games?
No, the main game also has multiplayer, like the whole game.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, many people don't realize that, so that's fine because it it's like it's just a bunch of Kirby recolors. It's kind of like Amazing Mirror, but like there's no explanation why those Kirby's are there. They just appear. But yeah, the whole game can be played in multiplayer, so that's fun. But I don't hear many people talking about it because I think most people didn't get to play it in multiplayer.
Very cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Maybe I knew that at one time, but I had definitely forgotten that. Um,
Yeah.
I've looked it up now, and yeah, it's neat to see all those Kirby's there at once. Yeah, that's one I would definitely play multiplayer with people if it
Hmm.
were available. So yeah, it would not be unlikely to see more Kirby games come to NSO. So I think we can look forward to that, even if we don't know exactly what it's going to be. Um, seems kind of odd to have those games out there and never have at least one of them show up.
Hmm.
Another thing that would not be surprising to me, and maybe this is less of a specific prediction, but HAL has a pretty extensive library. So I wouldn't be surprised if just another game with some kind of tie to HAL shows up. It would be neat to see, like, they don't have like Adventures of Lolo out there and stuff yet, do they?
No, that would be fun to have because I have always been interested in those games, but like I have never played them, so it would be nice to have the opportunity.
Well, I think that covers what we had for educated predictions, things that are likely, even if we don't have a lot of evidence for them necessarily. So let's just take the guardrails off here and go wild with speculation for the rest of the episode. What do you want to see? What do you think is like, hypothetically possible, even if we have no evidence for it? What else could happen in 2025 related to Kirby?
So I have something that I have been speculating for a while about the Switch 2, and it's not super exciting, but it is exciting for me. But like there's some rumors going around that the Switch 2 is going to allow like older Switch titles to play like with better performance. So one thing that I hope to see if that's the case, it's like a stylized update that makes the game run at 60 FPS
Hmm.
because that would be nice. And I think why I think that's likely because I think it would be like an interesting way for people to like who get the Switch 2 to play this older games like in a better performance. And I think I remember this being speculated by some people, and I ended up like wanting to believe this has happened. Like I don't think there's any evidence, but people are mentioning like I think Breath of the Wild running in the Switch 2 like with very better performance, 60 FPS, higher quality graphics and stuff like that. So I think it would be interesting to see that. I think the PS5 had something like that where you could play like PS4 games with higher performance. I'm not sure if I'm just misremembering, but I think if that was something the Switch 2 would do, Star Allies, like I think it's the perfect game for that, and we really really nice to play the game like with better performance because it's a good game. It has sometimes it's the frame drops, but it's 30 FPS and playing 60 FPS doesn't make such a difference for me. But I know many people would like that, so it would be nice to see. But like again, I don't know how likely this is, and maybe this is something not as exciting for some people, but I think it could happen, and if that happens, I'm pretty sure Star Allies would be one of those games.
Mhm. Yeah, that's not a bad prediction, given that Nintendo one they do like to resell their past games and make you buy
Yeah.
them again, um, which I don't I don't mind doing given the right circumstances. But it has been kind of a while since these games have come out. Like I think of Breath of the Wild as being a recent title, but it's like 7 years old now, right? Like
Yeah.
when did Breath of the Wild come out? So it's like been around enough that they could issue like maybe a special collection of like Switch Selects or something that are remastered versions of games that are
Mhm.
like 6 or 7 years old, just with a little technical boost to them or something. People would probably buy them again. People would, want to play Breath of the Wild over again, and they
Mhm.
might want to play a Kirby game along with it. So I could see a little boosted version of maybe Forgotten Land is less likely for something like that. But yeah, Star Allies seems like a hey, if we want to include a Kirby game in our Switch Selects collection, here's a boosted version of Star Allies.
Yeah, I think for Ireland it's not as likely, mostly because it's still selling well, from what I know. So like, if they did that, uh, I guess it would be, but like I think less people would buy it again. Like the game is just 2 years old, but like Starlace is already 60 years old. So like people would be more likely to replay it than Forgotten Land. So that's how I feel, at least.
Mhm. Yeah, and by the time it would be coming out, I guess we have to imagine that it would also be even older,
Oh yeah,
and I don't know, maybe it's paired with something else or something too. Who knows? But it's at least been around long enough that they could do something else with it.
yeah. I don't like in my ideal scenario. If you own the game on the Switch one, you could just play in the Switch 2, like with a free update that makes it like run better. Like instead of buying the game. But I could also see like they doing it like rebuying the game. I don't know what Nintendo would do,
Mhm.
honestly, but like if I had to choose, obviously I wouldn't want it to be like just a free upgrade if I
Mhm.
already own the game.
Mhm.
Because it would be nice to replay it and have like in a better performance and not have to play anything more. Just replay it because why not?
Mhm.
But again, I don't know how likely that is, so who knows?
Yeah. I mean, we can let our imaginations run wild for this segment. So,
Yeah.
in our perfect world, you can just automatically upgrade them and not
Yeah.
buy them again. And
Yes.
my question for you next, Gigi, is: are we getting GameCube games on NSO?
Oh man.
And I feel like I have an argument for and an argument against it.
So honestly, whenever this topic like people discuss it, I always feel like really torn because I don't know. I feel like it could happen, but they also remade a couple GameCube games. Like I guess most notably was the Thousand Year Door, and I know they didn't add like Mario RPG to the NSO, and they later remade it. So maybe if they have GameCube, they could just not add Thousand Year Door. But like I know many people want the GameCube games. Like many people want. Like that's something that has been like speculated for like years at this point. Everyone wants them. And so like I feel it can happen. I just don't know like if it were to happen if it would be like next year already.
Mhm.
But I also like I get that the GameCube is old, like it's 20 years old. So like it's already like retro or whatever. It makes sense to release like for that console in that sense. But like honestly, I'm really tired. Like I don't think it's impossible. I just don't know if it's like very likely to happen that soon. But I could also see it's something that makes people want to get the Switch 2 as well. Like they already confirmed they are going to continue NSO. So like they could go like, oh, we have the Switch 2, and if you in the Switch 2, NSO also has GameCube. That's a big plus. They aren't just going to have NSO the same in the Switch 2, I would imagine. But also, like, I don't know. It feels like too good to be true, probably. That's why I'm so
Yeah.
torn. But like, yeah.
Yeah, I think my thoughts on it are pretty similar, right? Where they remake GameCube games sometimes, And GameCube games hold up very well, and usually with just a little bit of an extra coat of paint and some quality of life experiences, you can release those as is as a full price title. They did that with Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. They've done that with the GameCube Zelda games and Baten Kaitos and Metroid Prime and stuff. So we know that Nintendo's like, well, we could just sell these individually. Why should we put them all in a big online collection? At the same time, when they announced that the NSO is going to continue running into the future, one has to wonder, well, what are they going to keep adding to it at this point? Like, is
Mhm.
it just going to be more Nintendo 64 games for the next like 6 years? Like, what is next for it? And GameCube is just the next thing that they could add that they haven't added yet. So I know some people have said that they don't really feel like the library actually has that many like big games in it that people would want to see, but I would, I can think of plenty of GameCube games I would play on NSO. At the same time, I still play my GameCube fairly often, so like I have a lot of those games already, but it is different playing them online, and it makes them easier to play multiplayer and stuff. So something I would be happy to have, and does kind of seem like it would happen eventually, but I don't know that it's really a priority for Nintendo right now.
Yeah, there are many GameCube games that I think people really like Melee and even Kirby Air Rise, that like just for these games people would probably get NSO, like just replay these games. And there's the Zelda ones, which actually they haven't released it in the Switch, have they? Like Wind Waker.
They haven't.
So yeah, if they don't release, I think that's really likely they would be in the NSO. And also we have Sunshine, which was in the like the Mario All Stars collection, but like that has been a while already, so
Mhm.
they could, and that also was like unavailable for a couple months. So yeah, I can, they, even if, like I'm just saying like 5 games or something, but like I feel that the GameCube is not about like numbers of games. There's just a couple games that people really really like, that I feel that's enough for people to be interested. So it's less about the quantity, more about like the quality, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit here and probably name like several dozen GameCube games that I would be happy to have in a collection. I just know that Nintendo's going to focus on its main flagship titles,
Yeah.
and they've just already made HD versions of a lot of those. So, would people feel like, would they re-release the HD version of Wind Waker, or would they just give us the original GameCube version? Would they release the HD version of Twilight Princess, or would they just release the original version? And knowing how Nintendo likes to present things, it almost feels more likely that they would just sell it again as like a standalone title, but who knows?
Yeah, I think it's really unpredictable.
If they released Melee for NSO, that would just transform the Melee competitive
Yes,
community too, because
completely.
that game is still, it's not that big in terms of like Nintendo's full audience. Like I get why they haven't like re-released it or anything like that, because like even if it has a really rabid fan base, obviously that fan base is very niche compared to the audience they have for other games. But I mean, I go to tournaments and see people like I spectate. I don't play it competitively or anything, but I've like, I'll go to Combo Breaker and things and watch people play competitive Melee, and they're carrying around their Wii's everywhere and their CRT TVs and stuff, and like how it would technologically transform that game to have a version you could play online on modern hardware. It would just make such a difference to that whole scene. So it does kind of surprise me that Nintendo doesn't do a little bit more with that, but I don't know. Maybe the demand just isn't really there, even if some really ardent fans would want it. But that would be maybe like the flagship title I can think of that they haven't released before that could come to an NSO that really kind of lights things on fire a little, as like, oh, that was a thing that was not available for that we have now.
Yeah, Melee is such a popular game. Like even if it's just more competitive, it's just, I think it's really impressive. Like how people still play it to this day. So yeah, there it feels like there's a missed opportunity here for like Nintendo to either like remaster Melee or just release it in an NSO that people are going to be like, I can I can totally see like competitive Melee players just getting NSO to play Melee. So like that would be something.
Mhm. Yeah, it would probably expand that scene too once people start playing it, and once they
Yeah.
realize like, oh, there's actually a bunch of people still playing this one. Are there any other GameCube games that you would want to see?
Uh Honestly, other than Kirby, right? Of course, I
Mhm.
don't really think so. Like stuff like again Paper Mario and Sunshine. I'm not a fan, but like I play in the collection, and even Luigi's Mansion. It was Luigi's Mansion that was like recently also remastered, right? I'm trying to remember, or was it the second one? I was confused. Like
Oh yeah, they haven't. Yeah, I don't think they have re-released the first one yet.
yeah, because I'm trying to remember. I think like they re-released the 3DS ROM, right? Like a
Yeah.
couple months ago. Like I forgot about that. I just remember about that, so I was trying to remember which game that was. But yeah, I guess Luigi's Mansion, Kirby I Ride, and I don't know. I haven't really played many GameCube games. Like I grew up with the Wii, so like I didn't have many GameCube games, even though the Wii could play them. I'm most familiar with the Wii.
Mhm.
So honestly, that's my list. Really, I Ride Online would be really fun.
Mhm.
That's all.
Yeah, and I think going back to sort of the like for against kind of like would they not? Nintendo likes making these HD releases of GameCube games, but then there's also this kind of I don't want to call it like the B list because they're not like lesser games, but they're games that I could see Nintendo not being as motivated to make like an HD version of, and like it would want to do something with those games, I would think, as just if we're looking like just down the road into what NSO is, it's like would we get an HD remake of Kirby's Air Ride? Maybe, but it seems a little bit more like a game that they could just put on NSO and be like, here it is.
Yeah.
um, and I think that there's a lot of games that they that kind of live in that space where it's like maybe Nintendo's not going to try to like make that like a new thing, but still thinks they could find an audience for. And then totally unrelated, as I'm looking at Luigi's Mansion things, did you know there's a Luigi's Mansion arcade game?
Oh, actually, I do because I have played before. It's really fun.
Yeah, in 2015, Nintendo released Luigi's Mansion Arcade, an arcade game based on a first-person, wait, an arcade game based on Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, developed by Capcom and published by Sega. The game uses the same plot as Dark Moon, but goes for a first-person on-rails gameplay style and utilizes a special vacuum-based controller. I did not know that existed.
Actually, I played that here in Brazil. Actually, I was really surprised it was here, like in an arcade one day. And I know that that's also why I know about it because I just randomly found it one day. I was like, oh, I had no idea this existed, so I just went to play and it was fun. But
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Mhm. Yeah, I would thinking about like GameCube games that I would want to see. There are plenty of them. I really like the GameCube. I've said that on this podcast before that I really like the GameCube. But Soul Calibur 2 I think would be a really fun one to have. That's the version that has Link in it as a guest star.
Mm.
And I think Time Splitters would be a really nice fit for NSO, especially Time Splitters 2. um, I don't know Future Perfect, but I know Time Splitters 2 is really fun. The SSX games are really fun. There's a really good Bomberman for GameCube. Um, Double Dash seems like a game that could come to NSO that wouldn't be like re-released as its own thing because like I'm sure
Oh,
Nintendo's going to have like Mario Party 9 or something, but I think people would play Double Dash still today. So playing that online that would work. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the library that's really
mhm,
fun to play multiplayer that could easily flesh out a library of like if they just wanted to put like 40 games on there or something like that. Like there's definitely plenty you could draw from.
mhm. Yeah, I forgot about Double Dash. I also like that one, and I play it. So yeah, it would be nice to have. I like Mario Kart in general, and so more Mario Kart is always good. So Yeah.
All right. Any other just sort of wild guesses on what might happen next? Or things that think what do you want to happen that you would like want to will into existence by saying it on this podcast right now?
Yes, I was. Yes, I want. This is going to be my last one, but like it's my most wanted like Kirby game right now. And but in short, it's a Kirby RPG. That's something
Hmm.
I have always wanted. Like I feel there's a lot of potential to do something more like the Mario RPGs, but in Kirby, because I just feel Kirby has the potential to have something again like Mario RPGs, which are like okay, they're RPGs, they're simple enough that kids can play. They have the story, and there are many characters you can use, and like in particular, I think Kirby's cop ability can be a really fun gimmick in a turn-based RPG. Like I have no idea how they would make that possible. There's many ways you can do that, but like that's my dream Kirby game because I love RPGs and I l- I want more like dialogue in Kirby games. There's something I feel they have done recently, like in mainline games, but it's usually just one or two characters. Like for example, in Return to Dreamland, you have Megalar. He's the one that talks. That's all.
Hmm.
Even in Forgotten Land, there's the Waddle Dee talking and Bandana D, but like DDD and Meta Knight don't talk. There's not much interaction like in dialogue. So I think in an RPG, there's a lot of potential for like character interactions and dialogue and stuff that in a mainline Kirby game, there's probably not like a space for it. But in an RPG, you can have like a party of maybe the main four characters like Kirby, Meta Knight, DDD, and Benedity or something like that. And again, do
Hmm.
like a Mario RPG, which I personally don't not need that, but like there's the action commands that people really like that could be something. And even if they don't do that, there's many ways they can do like do a turn-based RPG which isn't super complex like some RPGs that are out there because Kirby again is about being accessible for everyone. I just feel there's a lot of potential, and there's also a lot of like crazy story stuff that Kumazaki could do in an RPG that maybe that he can do in a Kirby game, like mainline Kirby game. So I just feel like I think it's going to happen one day. I have no clue when, and I always hope it's going to happen soon. And I also biased because right now I'm playing Mario Luigi Brothership, and I'm having a blast. It's really fun. I love Mario Luigi, and I just feel like this is cool. I like Mario, but like imagine this but Kirby. I would be like crying over it of how much I love it. So it's just like my most wanted Kirby game right now. It would be that. I have no clue like how like it would end up like being in practice. I can see many ways it can happen, but like Mario RPGs but Kirby, that would be like what I want in general.
Hmm. Nice.
I sometimes joke that like if you were like what is my dream Kirby RPG, I joke that sometimes it would be like instead of Mario Luigi it would be Kirby and Bandana D, like the two party members.
Nice. All right. Well, should we wrap it up there? Is that an hour of 2025 predictions to tide everyone over for the next month and a half or so until 2025 begins?
Yeah, I think I'm good. Like I guess I can just quickly mention my second most wanted Kirby
Oh
game
yeah,
right
go for
now,
it.
but it's also general. It's a Kirby rhythm game. Like you know, Digi's Dream Dash Deluxe, but imagine that like as a full game. I
Mhm.
like rhythm games like in general, so I really like Dream Dash Deluxe, and I wish that we got like a Dream Dash Deluxe too, because we got like a sequel of every 3DS a shop spin-off except the one. So sometimes I wonder, are they going to do like a bigger game? Maybe not just DDD. Maybe there's like Meta Knight playable too, and like other characters, maybe Megler, maybe I don't know, Taranza, Susie, or something like that. It would be fun, but I don't know. I think that's less likely than RPG, but who knows? That would be also something I would really like to see.
Yeah, I could see that as being like a little spin-off title, maybe like an eShop title or something. And it's, I mean, like it could be a full mainline one too. But
Hmm.
in terms of where I kind of could see them going with that, it's like, well, like maybe for $30 you get like a Kirby rhythm game, and it's just a fun celebration of Kirby songs, and
Yes.
or they could go the full on like DK Bongos route. Maybe there's some kind of Kirby instrument you get, like
Oh,
there's a star rod you buy that you use to conduct the orchestra or something.
I would love that.
Does anyone in Kirby play an instrument?
Uh, Good
I mean,
question.
there's like the Waddle Dee band.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What if you had like the Water D band as a game? Oh man, that would be so cute.
It's like they bring back Rock Band, but like Waddle Dee
Yes.
themed.
Rock band but with Water D's. Yes, please. That's perfect. Okay, that's the other game we're going to get have next year. Rock band but with the Water D band.
All right. Well, thank you for making all these predictions with me, Gigi. I think that we did a good balance of like things we know for sure and the fun speculation. But thank you for listening. Kirby Conversations is hosted by me, Sean Douglas, along with Gigi, Kai, Captain Dangerous Parker, and Bridget. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can email us at mail@kirbyconversations.com. And we also very much encourage you to follow us on social media. We are most active on Blue Sky and Instagram, but you can see all of our social media handles in the show notes. Our theme music is by Megan Kello in a new arrangement by Duncan Pixel T. Smith. And we will be back in another 2 weeks with more Kirby Conversations. Thanks, everyone. Bye. At some point, we have to do an episode about like Nintendo in Brazil or something, because
Yeah, that
I'm very curious what all like the arcade scene would be like there and stuff like that.
yeah, there's a lot to talk about, so we could probably do that one day.